Real estate news, when you get it from the media or when you get it raw, is it any different? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it right now. Special guest Wayne Hughes, real estate strategist, talking about the lag between real media or real world facts and media. What do you reckon, Wayne? You're very experienced out there talking to many agents and agencies. Is there a difference?
Hi, Mark. Thanks so much for having me along this morning. Look, I think that when you think about the sequence of events that people go through when they're looking for a home, typically what happens is that you see something that sparks your interest, and the first thing that you would do would be just pop into a local open home that was for sale on a Saturday, for instance. And you may not even have any great intention of doing anything at that stage. But the very first person you talk to in that instance is the guy running the open home. So that's your local real estate agent. And so the very first part of the sequence where the news is actually created is at that time when you interact for the first time with real estate agents. And when you think about it, things that are reported in the past, you take accounting, for example, accounting reports things that have happened in the past because there is a result and the result gets reported. And I think that's often what you see on the media is the results of what's being reported.
So if people want to get good news, and you and I were talking off air about this, if people want to get good news, there's so many aspects to the news. Local is probably one of the biggest ones. The news tends to be national or statewide. So if we're starting to go through the benefits of real-time media, I guess localized is a big one, because you can actually hear, if you've got a property in DY, you can hear from your agent in DY rather than hearing what's happening in the state.
Absolutely. One of the most interesting stories I heard was many years ago by an agent who's now passed away. He's a very old guy. When I was speaking to him, he was retired. And he said back in the 1960s and 70s, people didn't know what their house was worth. The only way they knew was to walk into the local real estate agency and ask the agent. And that's because obviously back then there was no internet or things that you could look up on and get the sort of information that you can get today. But the point to the story is what George told me hasn't changed that much in terms of timing. The guys that are knowing what's going on instantly day to day, they ran 6 open homes yesterday. They know the feedback from the people in the open homes. So maybe if you're looking at a home and thinking about just going and seeing one over the weekend, don't just go and have a look at the house. Talk to the agent, ask the agent what he's seeing is going on, and get the goss.
And also, Wayne, I think good agents are doing callbacks and connecting with owners.
Sure.
With buyers. And I think that's also the open home's a great opportunity, and also that callback time, because almost that callback time is, are you interested? No, I'm not. Are you interested? Yes, I am. That's the dialogue. Whereas the dialogue, you can use it as a buyer to your benefit by saying, hey, got a couple of questions I've written down. Do you mind if I ask you? 100% the agent's going to go, absolutely. You're talking about something you love. And you can get that from on the ground. And even talk, if you're confused about a property that you've seen, you can even ask other agents about that property, and they're going to give you the good oil,
Quick tip, Mark, for buyers out there this weekend. When you get a call back on a Monday, and every good agent should give you a call back on a Monday, the things they should be covering with you are the following things. What was your level of interest in the property? What's your time frame for making a move? Have you got your finance together? And how's the sale of your current property going? Now, those 4 things, every good agent should ask you those questions if you're a buyer that went through a property on a Monday, on a weekend, for example. Now, why that's so powerful for you as the buyer is because they start to understand your situation, but all of those things too, you think that they're asking a lot of buyers, have you got your finance together? And one of the aspects, we saw another 0.5% rate rise day before yesterday. And so they're talking to buyers that will then turn around and give them the instant situation of, yes, I'm all good with my finance, or I was stretching it before. I might have to go back to the bank and make sure I can manage it with this next round of rate rises that is impending. So there's a tremendous amount of wealth in information for buyers just by asking question of the agents that they're talking to.
So Wayne, you got me thinking now for media and real world facts. It's dangerous. For media and real world facts, if you're a buyer or a prospective tenant, who teaches you the perfect questions to learn what's happening in your real estate core market? It's almost like we should be helping new buyers and helping new sellers, helping new tenants and helping new landlords, and actually giving these guys a set of questions to ask their agent to learn the current news on property.
Yeah, I think that when you think about it, the simple truth is who's closest to the action. Yeah. And your agents are like right in it every day. They're hearing not only what's going on in the market, but most agents are also bouncing it around with the other 4 or 5 or 6 guys in their office about what they're hearing. So the stories get passed around all of the time within the office. And that gives agents a great source of information that's probably less than 24 hours old.
Yeah, now, it's huge and it's changing.
Any buyer and any seller is in a situation where they're about to make a decision. And any decision is only as good as the information upon which it's based. You can't turn back the clock if you made a decision in the past. But what you can do is always say to yourself, I made the best decision I could with the information I had to hand at that point in time. So the trick to that is get better information. So therefore, look at the source of the information, and that source is where it's current and absolutely at ground level.
You
mentioned before also about the generality or specificness of information, and you think about what's on the media and even local media. It's general or averaged by its nature. You see reports on the TV, and property reports are on TV nearly every night now. But when you actually look at the location of the agency that they might be interviewing, it's probably not the one in your backyard. It probably isn't the one in the market that you're going to be buying or selling in. So therefore, while it does have some relevance and it's certainly newsworthy, then you're better off to go and find the details of the area that you're specifically going to buy and sell in. We've seen different rises in property prices and falls in property prices and leveling out of the market. They change differently in different suburbs.
And also, I think by the time the story gets to the 10th person, it's changed.
Yeah, there's a new story by then. Real estate's dynamic.
So with media, you may get the rental reps on the ground and the sales reps on the ground reporting to their principal. You may get the principal reporting to their district rep. You may get their district rep reporting to the New South Wales rep, and you'll get that New South Wales rep talking to the media. So there's often a lot of layers, and some bias can happen along the way. So by buyers, sellers, renters, landlords talking to agents, they're eliminating all that bias that what media takes. Something that I also think that's really important if people want real world facts on property is I love the question when someone asks me, what should I be asking you? I reckon that is
you can ask anywhere.
It is just a killer of a question. It's when a buyer squares you up and says, are there any questions I should be asking you about this property? And straight away you'll go blah, 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 and tell them all this stuff that they should know and they should be asking, but you don't want to, just go through, it's sort of saying, can you please educate me? And I think that to get real world facts, for that particular property or that particular property market, I think that's a really cool question to ask your agent. You're gonna get some really good no bullshit answers.
Most agents are seeing tens, if not dozens, of transactions happening every year, and they learn a lot on the way through. But you have to think of it from an agent's perspective. Their job is to get the deal done for the benefit of the vendor. And so what they're trying to work on at every stage is progressing that deal. They are a wealth of information which they're more than happy to share with you. And all you need to do is ask. But they're not necessarily volunteering it because that's not their job to do. They don't consider themselves to be an educator, but they'll happily answer your questions if you've got them. Huge opportunity for buyers and sellers for that matter.
So that's a take. There is a lag between media and there is a lag between real world facts. Not having a dig at the media, they're doing the best they can. But I think if you want to do the best you can as a buyer, a seller, a landlord, a renter, you want to be talking to the people at the coalface, seeing what's happened. It brings light to channels like this. And when you get sometimes when you get agents just saying sold by standing in front of the board and putting that photo on social media, that's not really helping people, educating people out there. So I think look for good sources of your local property market. And, Wayne, it's your biggest asset. I know that if I'm going to buy Bitcoin, I have Googled Bitcoin every night for the last month and spent hours and hours and hours and hours researching it. And
yeah, but
much
there's no one
the
you
same.
can actually ask.
There's no one you can ask.
If there was a Bitcoin guru that you could just say, hey, what should I be asking you? That would be far, a super valuable service. And the media does an awesome job.
Yeah.
The media has got access to research, top line research and statistical data that is amazing. So we're not discounting the media in their position in this at all. All we're saying is match your sources up and use all of the sources available, including the most current ones in the agency in your area.
Absolutely. And Wayne, it's your biggest asset that you're ever going to have. It's nice to have good information on that asset to make really healthy decisions on that. Thanks for coming on today, you legend, and having a talk about that. Now you are a real estate strategist. That's what I think of you as. You've been working many, 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 many years in the industry, and over 20 years in the industry. You work with top sales reps and principals in the country. What's your message for today that you're going to go out on?
Have fun. The more fun that you're having in your business, the more fun that you're having in your day. Money follows fun. And if you focus on the fun and having fun for your clients, yourself, the people around you in the office, the rest of it all just falls into place. Just have a great day.
You're a beautiful man, dude. Thank you very much. Have a good day. I look forward to the next 4 hours of training, sitting down with you one-on-one.
Have we got some fun lined up for you, my friend?
You're going to unpack my brain.
See you soon.
See you, everyone. Hope we helped you today. Bye.
Bye, everyone.